What's up, guys? Welcome to the Metal Roofing Channel. I'm Thad Barnette. Today we're looking at color trends in metal construction for 2023. I've got Sean from Precoat Metals. Thanks, Sean, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, what is going to inform the information that we're talking about today? Where does it come from the Precoat side?
So for your audience that doesn't maybe know who Precoat Metals is, we're the largest toll coater of metal in the world for coil coating. And coil coating is a preferred method for putting coatings onto roofing panels. So ultimately, with our view of the market, we get to see in a total what all of your customers are asking for. Your customers are the ones that are going to pick the colors that they want. But Precoat has a big picture view because we sell to the whole market in the United States. So we have a really good idea as the largest buyer of coatings for coil coating in the world.
So let's look back first.
Okay.
At 2022 and some of the last couple of years, what have we seen really pick up as far as color trends?
Yeah, so I looked back at some of our data, which is obviously, looking, the best way to predict the future is to look at the past and see what's happened and see what trends have emerged. And without a doubt, a trend or a few trends that have emerged has been the prevalence of wrinkle coatings or textured coatings. So I think that people are looking at the textured coatings. Your customers will get a sample and actually feel that sample. And I think that they can imagine when that goes on a roof that it's going to look more like an asphalt shingle. So the textured coatings have really taken off. So we've looked year over year, there's 20% year over year gain in wrinkle coatings.
Yeah, that's something that we haven't talked much about on this channel. Can you kind of explain that a little more? How is that texturing applied? Is it the same type of paint system, like a PVDF paint, SMP paint? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so the paint companies formulate by adding additives that go into the paint. So it's applied the same way at Precoat. And then we control the cure process to actually, first of all, the application process to put down the proper film, and then the cure process to make sure that the coating sets up in a routine and repeatable wrinkle pattern that then can be felt by the consumer. So I think I've had a customer tell me before that they know that it's sold once someone holds and feels the sample, which is really a wonderful thing, I think, for our customers, because I think that it's looked at by Sheffield and Sheffield's customers as maybe a higher value product. And I think people can actually hold that and feel it and look at it and think, when I stand far away at the end of my driveway, I'm going to look at my roof and it's going to appear a little bit like an asphalt shingle, but then last longer and have the benefits of a metal roof. So that's one thing, which maybe couples into another thing, which is just matte finishes in general. A trend that has certainly emerged over the last 5 years has been matte finishes. So people are looking for things that are just lower in gloss. Lower in gloss has grown on the construction side at double digits over the last 5 years, every single year. So that is kind of coupled a little bit with the textured finishes, which help give that low gloss.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see matte black as one of our highest sellers over the last several years. What are we looking at for 2023? What do you expect to be a high seller in 2023?
I think it's going to be more of the same. So I think that the trends are so well established now with this double-digit growth many years in a row. I think that you're going to continue to see the dark colors, the matte finishes, and maybe even continued growth in the textured finishes, taking the place of some of the earth tones that maybe were more popular in years past.
Okay.
So I think that white-black combo is really taking off. Looking back at our data, I've noticed that there's been, over the last 5 years, almost a 30% increase in the darker colors. And it seems to have taken a chunk out of some of the earth tones that previously were maybe more popular.
Yeah, definitely. So, why do you think that shift has been made? I know we mentioned HGTV and some other things like that. Why do you think those colors are more popular now?
I've followed some of the color of the year stuff from the different paint companies. So the Pantone Institute sets out color chips for people to be able to talk about color in a uniform way. They make standards and distribute those so that people can talk about color. The information coming out of the paint companies, if you look back at the recent colors of the year, they each have their own, and they've all tended to be in that darker palette lately. Yep. So I think that they're jumping on the trend of some of these darker colors, and that certainly seems to have taken hold. I know my neighborhood, everything is black and white. Everything that's new is black and white.
Yeah. So what about, talking about those low gloss colors again, what about those? What are some benefits of having a low gloss color, or why do you think those matte finishes are becoming more popular?
Yeah, so when you take a further step back, some of the lighter colors, which it seems like the trend that's emerged is more with the darker colors being used in trims, where it's lighter colors maybe for houses and sidings. You're going to have less color change on lighter colors than darker colors. The paint companies typically warrant 35, 40 years, depending on the chosen color. Mm-hmm. But if you have, a bright purple, it's going to have maybe more color change over the same time frame as a white.
Right.
The white is just not going to change as rapidly. So this is kind of on the residential side. I'd also say on the agricultural side, the long-term trends have just kind of stayed the same. So you're still looking at, red barns being a popular thing. You're talking about green for some outbuildings that are just never going to go away. Mm-hmm. The trend on that ends up following kind of investment in those spaces. So at different times, based on probably cash flows or other situations within those agricultural businesses, you'll see maybe an uptick in red for, without a doubt, barn facades and green for different agricultural buildings. So that's kind of a mainstay where the color trends kind of, I would say, have emerged more on the residential side.
Yeah. What about commercial buildings? How does the color trends play into that?
We end up selling to someone like Sheffield, and then Sheffield will then go and sell to the different industries. So we can make assumptions, but when we sell you a coil, we don't know exactly where you're going to take that coil.
Sure.
So on the commercial side, there's been an uptick. Obviously, everyone's known since COVID, and everyone stopped going to a store and started to only shop online. There's been a large increase in last mile warehousing. And that last mile warehousing has helped with metal buildings and also tilt-up concrete.
Yeah.
And I would say that from that standpoint, a lot of those just, as I look around at what's being built, a lot of those last mile warehouses have been metal, and they end up being lighter colors. But they don't care so much about the, looking like a trendy new house.
Yeah.
So it ends up being maybe a bit more boring, but lighter colors, just probably for the sake of availability and matching what's already there in the business parks where they're being built.
Yeah, it matches that industrial feel. Also lighter colors generally have better energy efficiency, SRI values when it comes to that. And, I can imagine a large warehouse that can be even more beneficial.
Yeah, no doubt. And as you bring up the solar reflectivity, some of the darker colors, actually every paint company now has cool pigmentation that will go into some of these darker colors. But you don't need the cool pigmentation if you just choose a lighter color to begin with.
So what about when it comes to consumers? Why is it important for someone to stay up on color trends and kind of understand, where the market might be going for somebody that might be, sells metal roofing to customers, contractors, manufacturers, things like that?
Yeah, so when you think about the warranties associated with metal roofing, it's a roof that's going to last an awfully long time. And I think, last statistic I saw, the average time that someone's in a house is 7 years. Okay, so if you're in a house for 7 years and you're going to be investing in a 40-year roof, you want to probably make that investment knowing that you'll sell it. So staying with what's current is probably better than taking a risk on what might be popular in 0 to 7 years when you're likely going to sell your house, whether you think you will or not.
Yeah. That makes sense. And tell me a little bit about, what colors are popular, but maybe not best sellers right now. What are some, those top 10 colors?
Okay, so grays are, when you think about, we've been talking a lot about white and black. Well, if you mix the two, you've got gray, right? So we have a lot of different grays that we coat at Precoat. I think that we did something like 20,000 different SKUs last year. Wow. So not of just gray, but of all colors. And gray made up a significant amount of that. Similarly, a lot of the lighter colors end up being large sellers as well. So you've got, the light stone, some of these kind of off-whitish colors for someone that doesn't just want pure white. So we end up seeing the grays and the other light colors really taking off, followed by some of the reds, greens for probably agricultural, and then brown, believe it or not.
And when it comes to metal construction color trends, is there anything else we haven't talked about when we're looking at 2023 and beyond?
Yeah, when I looked back at our data, I was seeing what the data would tell me in terms of what have been the trends, and was really shocked to see how much growth there's actually been in the black. And one market that I looked at in particular to flesh this out was the garage door segment, where there's been more than 25% growth year over year. So the last 4 years, there's been more than a 25% growth in black for garage doors. I mean, we're talking though about something that started at a very low level. So still, white is going to be by far the most popular.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to see how people are trying to marry the garage door maybe to a unique gutter or even the exterior facing window that might be black.
Yeah.
So people are starting to make an upgrade to their house by doing something kind of cheap, and that's changing the gutters and changing the trim and changing a garage door, and those trends really have set in.
So if I was looking for a painted metal roof, where can I go to help me decide on colors?
Yeah, so the different websites that exist right now from people like Sheffield, they have great tools to show their color cards. For me personally, what I would want to do is actually go and feel the sample. So I might go to a Lowe's or Home Depot and look at the actual color chips, knowing that, well, I know obviously as Precoat Metals that it's not like I can just instantly turn one of those color chips into a painted coil. But I would still want to take a look with my eyes and then with my hands.
Yeah, seeing something in person is huge. And that's why you can drive around, look at other roofs in your area, maybe see some standing seam applications. I like that color, or don't like that color. That kind of matches what you like. Also, as you mentioned, we have a color visualizer on SheffieldMetals.com. Several manufacturers throughout the industry do that. You can take a picture of your house and actually look and see what different colors would look like on your actual building. And then also you can contact your manufacturer. Many of them, including Sheffield, will send you physical color chips. So you can have the metal samples in your hands for the 3 or 4 colors that you're trying to decide between. And you can see it in the light, in your area next to your application. Well, Sean, we really appreciate all of your support from Precoat and all of the knowledge that you bring to the table.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. If you have any questions, please comment down below. We'd love to answer them. Subscribe here to the Metal Roofing channel. As always, I'm Thad Barnette. We'll catch you next time.